I've finally calmed down a little bit after such an intense and quality weekend of rugby. We're going to chat about those quarterfinals and more. My name is Mark. Let's talk rugby. So we just had another weekend of fantastic rugby, but also the atmosphere at each of the games was amazing as well. And it's great to see that, you know, the fans are actually getting to go to the games, that they're not being priced out of it. And, you know, a lot of these fans, you know, they'll have targeted this since the last World Cup, saved up for 4 years to be able to afford their trip. And it's great to see them all having a good time, you know, win or lose in their quarterfinals. And, you know, it just really does liven up the tournament. There's nothing worse than seeing, you know, real fans being priced out and kind of a dead atmosphere with too many corporate boxes and, you know, celebrities all over the crowd and that kind of stuff. So it's amazing to see this weekend. A lot of people in Ireland, you know, when France got awarded this World Cup ahead of us, you know, we obviously weren't happy about it. And honestly, like, for Ireland, the Rugby World Cup is probably the biggest event that Ireland could ever stage on its own. And I'm not sure whether we're going to get a chance now, because it's going to be, you know, it's going to be going probably on a world tour now, and you're going to have, you know, it's going to Australia next, because Australia every few years they need to be given a World Cup because they always run out of money. I don't know, like that's how it feels to me. But all that said, France did a fantastic job, and we need to give them kudos for it, because you know, they had problems at the start. There was, you know, the whole thing of actually getting the people into the stadium seems to be a big problem, and also the anthems. They totally destroyed the anthems in the first round, but then realized, hang on, we messed up here, let's fix it. And they fixed it, so they have to, you know, be given credit for that as well. And yeah, so it seems like that it's been a great tournament so far. We still have another 2 weeks to go, and, you know, potentially they're going to be the best 2 weeks as well, but they're going to have to go some way to top this weekend. It was amazing. But, you know, it was great to see, because there were so many times, and not just watching Ireland, because if you're watching your own team, you always want to be there, but watching other teams as well. I just wanted to be there in the stadium or even around the stadium, and just enjoying the atmosphere and the idea of fans from all over the world mixing together. You know, I've been lucky enough to go to 2 Rugby World Cups, one in 2007 that didn't end too well for Ireland, and one in 2019 that didn't end too well for Ireland. But hey, one day we'll do it, I guess. But so yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that and just give France the credit that they deserve for the tournament that they put on. Next, I want to talk about what is coming up this week. So first thing, a little bit later tonight, I'm going to be recording 2 short videos for you. You know, that will be a little bit of a treat. I'm very lucky to have a guest coming on the channel. We're going to have just a short chat about some stuff, and those 2 videos will come out later this week, so look forward to those. We're going to do our Super Brew stuff as well. We're going to see how badly I did in the quarterfinals, because I really did badly in the quarterfinals, and then so that will probably come out maybe tomorrow, I think. And then later on in the week, I'll do my predictions for the semi-finals as well. At least there's only 2 predictions to do on that one. And then also later on the week, we're going to have a look ahead to those semi-finals as a separate video, and then we will do our usual preview and review of each of the games as well when teams come out. And I'm hoping with that as well to get some stats in there too. So even though there's only 2 games to come, you know, I'm trying to fit in a lot around, you know, my work schedule too. And, you know, some we'll be able to do and some we won't, because then we got another event coming up as well, which is the URC is coming back this weekend, and I'm going to be covering every single weekend of that, which includes this weekend coming up. So I'm going to have probably a preview for the round. I'm not going to preview every single game, preview for the round, and then we'll probably review the pick of some of the games. So probably some of the Irish provinces, probably not all, and it depends in terms of that, but because we've got the semi-finals to cover as well. So it's going to be another busy weekend for rugby. One season isn't even over, the world, like including the World Cup, and we're already starting a new one. But I'm excited about that because this first week of the URC, we're going to see players maybe make their debut who are going to play in the next Rugby World Cup, and for me that's a very exciting thing to think about, that you're going to be there at the very start of somebody's journey to potentially, let's say Ireland actually being an Irish player who makes a semi-final. Wouldn't that be amazing? And then before we get into the quarterfinals, I want to chat about Ireland a little bit as well. So, I've been an Ireland fan for a very long time, and Irish rugby and rugby in general has just a very special place in my heart. To do, like, a lot of it's to do with my dad that passed away, and a lot of my memories of my dad is going to rugby games together, and we were actually there in 2007 together, and Ireland were terrible, but we had a great time. And actually, growing up, like, I guess someone of my age, if anybody's my age or older, you might kind of what would I say? You might kind of understand what I'm talking about when I say that. When I was younger, I didn't really know my dad. That, when I was a kid or a teenager, my dad was like the person that my mother threatened me with to behave. And then he would come home from work and you would have to behave. Like, my dad, the weird thing was, like, my dad wasn't a monster or anything that would beat the crap out of you. It was just that's how he was kind of framed, as it were. But then, so as a kid, like, I kind of only got to know my dad really on holidays. We used to go to the Isle of Man once a year, and that's the only kind of time I'd spend any kind of time with him. So it was only until I became an adult that we really started to get to know each other. And part of that was a lot of that actually was going to rugby game, watching rugby on the TV and going to rugby games together. I used to get us season tickets for Leinster, so we used to go to every single home Leinster game, whether that was down in Donnybrook, or then we moved to the RDS, and then the old Lansdowne Road, and then it became the Aviva, etc. So we went for many years, and then we went on special trips like this as well. And the trip, the rugby itself didn't work out too well, but the memories I'm always going to cherish. And then my dad, before he passed, he got Alzheimer's, and he used to tell me about what, I remember Brian O'Driscoll. Do you know that I was there when he did this? Like we were there the last day in Lansdowne Road is that was a game where O'Driscoll did that pass where I think it was Dennis Hickey maybe was on the wing, but he basically threw the ball over Dennis Hickey's head and passed it to himself, and then made a run up the wing. And we just happened to be, because of our season tickets, be front and centre, right at the front in the middle, exactly where it happened, and we saw it happen in front of us. But my dad couldn't remember at that time that we were there together, but it was just kind of a nice thing that I knew that he at least remembered something at that stage. But yeah, so just talking about, let's get back to Ireland before I start crying too much here. But with Ireland, because of that, like, it's very special for me just watching Ireland through tournaments and stuff like that. And this weekend it was the best Ireland team's ever gone to Rugby World Cup. But before 2007, with Eddie O'Sullivan, we're here, they're the best prepared Irish team, etc., etc. But this weekend was different because the performance that New Zealand put in to beat Ireland raised the bar, I think, in terms of what teams have to do now to deny Ireland that semi-final spot. And because of that, I'm far more optimistic about Ireland in the future. It's not one of these every single other, even 2019 was the same thing. Oh, it's another quarter-final defeat and semi-final missed out on. But this one feels different to me. And I think that's a good thing for the future. And, you know, this Ireland team, there are going to be some changes in it. And I think that's good, because I honestly think that part of the problem with the Ireland team, they've been fantastic, won 70 games in a row, so you can't really criticize them that much. But one thing I would criticize, or not even criticize maybe, is just getting more new blood in there and getting more competition within the squad, so that we can't just all name the team before Andy Farrell does every single time that we play. I think a little bit of doubt, because, you know, if someone isn't at that very, very highest level, then they're going to lose their spot. Maybe I think that would be good. But that's kind of Ireland for us. And now we're going to talk about each of the quarterfinals just very briefly. So the first quarterfinal of the weekend was, you know, Wales 17, Argentina 29. When you look at the score, it feels like maybe Argentina had a kind of a comfortable victory, but Wales, they did so well to get that start. You know, they had a pretty decent lead as well. They're leading at halftime 10-6. And, you know, they even added to that with Tomas Williams getting a try as well. And, you know, but then Argentina, Buffelli kept them in it with, you know, the couple of penalties he got were basically in the last minute of that first half. It would have been 10-0, only for he landed a penalty on, like, with a minute to go, and then another penalty in whatever 40 plus whatever minutes. It was in the clock in the red for half time to actually keep them in touch. And it was only 12 minutes to go when Sclavi actually went over to nudge them a little bit in front, 1917. And then Wales, they were pushing for that score to actually get the win. But Sanchez, such a cute player, he gets in the passing channel. He gets that intercept and goes through. Wales, I think, you know, they've improved a lot through this Rugby World Cup. And if they carry that into now next year's Six Nations, you know, I feel like the last few Six Nations, there have been, you could almost put teams in three buckets. You had Ireland and France at the top, you had England and Wales in the middle, and then England and Scotland, in the middle, and then Wales and Italy in the bottom trench there. And I feel like this Six Nations coming, things are going to get mixed up a little bit, and you might see either one of Ireland or France maybe finishing a little bit further down than we're used to them, and the likes of Wales and England potentially moving further up. And maybe because of all that, maybe Scotland could even nab themselves a title. So it's exciting, I think, for the future to see that. Argentina, they got better. You know, I think as the tournament went on, they were dire against England when they were playing against 14. But that game against Japan, where Japan kept coming back and they were able to stretch away, and this one as well, where they found a way to win, means, you know, they obviously go into the semi-final as an underdog, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we refocus on that. But, you know, they decent performance here, and, you know, they'll feel like, as I said, they're getting better. Add a little bit more to that, and they can get even better again. On to then the next quarterfinal, which is Ireland versus New Zealand. New Zealand, fantastic start from them. They looked a little bit rattled at the start, but then Ireland gave away a silly penalty, and it just gave them an out and kind of settled those nerves to them, I think. And then they got their lead there, and, you know, in a game like this, it was a 13-point lead, right? Getting that lead made it so that it was, you know, Ireland were always chasing the game. And Ireland never actually, they got back to winning the point a couple of times, but they never actually got their noses ahead. I think that was crucial, that New Zealand stopped them from just getting their nose ahead, because that would have changed the dynamic of the end of the game, where New Zealand would be looking for a score to get back in front, and that would open opportunities up for Ireland, but that never happened. And that was built on the defence. The defence was excellent. Obviously, attack was good too. They took the chances that they had, but I think that defensive effort for them, especially right there at the end, one time holding Ireland up over the line at a crucial time, and then the next one then, when Ireland were pushing right at the end to try and get that try that would win it for them, and they went through so many phases. New Zealand, they kept them out, but they didn't give away a penalty. And I think that was a big difference. We're used to seeing New Zealand winning because just the talent and individual skill that they have, but this one was built on just an amazing defensive effort as well. Okay, on to the next one then. It was England versus Fiji. So England, they get the amazing start in this one. You have the Tuilagi try you talked about, Tuilagi and Vunipola coming back into the reckoning for England. We talked about how Tuilagi is having an impact, whereas Vunipola, I honestly don't know why the guy is making matchday squads, and he didn't convince me when he come on in this one either. But England to get that start with the Tuilagi try. Farrell also with a penalty there too, and it looks like England are maybe cruising a little bit. They get the Marchand try as well, and then Bill Mata just throws that dummy and goes through to score, and suddenly Fiji are coming back at them. It was 21-10 at half time. That's a healthy lead in a quarter final. Fiji then were able to pull that back to 24 all with 12 minutes left on the clock, and then it's anyone's game. But it was England that were able to pull it out. First a drop goal from Farrell, and then a penalty to pretty much seal it. But Fiji, I think they can feel like this was a very good World Cup for them. Now they did lose to Portugal as well, but even with that included, they got to a quarter final, and they gave themselves a chance of making the semi-final as well, and that's all I think you can ask for. And the fact that they are going to be invited into the Rugby Championship is just going to mean that Fiji are going to get better and better, and that's, I think, great for rugby as a whole. England, they're another team like Wales who've improved through the tournament, and now they've got themselves in a semi-final, and we saw them in the last Rugby World Cup as well. They weren't that fancied a team going into it, but they still managed to get themselves to a final. So they're a team that you can't write off at this stage. I know, when we talk about the semi-finals, a lot of it is going to be kind of one-sided in terms of who the favourites are, but that's just the way it is with the draw. Okay, so the final one then was just the cherry on top of what was an amazing cake of rugby at the weekend, really. France 28, South Africa 29. So France started 100 miles an hour. Cyril Boy goes over to score. South Africa straight away, pretty much. Curtly Arendse goes in to reply. Then, not long after, then you have Delende. He goes over for them. Then you have Mauvaka responding for France. Then Colby gets over for South Africa. And then Boy gets a second for France. And the halftime, France just ahead by 3 points there, but then the second half is where South Africa really won it. Pollard comes on, and he adds just that ability to kick from long range, and he took advantage of that. That Etzebeth try as well. Just the strength of the guy, he's just a freak. Being able to get over there. I think it was a Jalabert that he just swatted out of his way, and then has a bunch of people hanging off him as well as he goes over. And you know, France had a chance to come back, but I felt that when Ramos kicked that 22 dropout out on the full, I thought that's France done. That was their chance, like, to get some kind of position. And South Africa, you know, they're the world champions, and they're world champions for a reason. Like, they're an amazing team. They're, you know, full of grit. They showed all of their ability there. You know, amazing tactics. You know, they're, I think, very underrated in terms of their attack with ball in hand as well, and they showed some of the best of it in this game. Manny Lebok being kept in at 10 to start to run that back line, and Pollard coming on, you know, for those crucial kicks at the end as well, really worked out for them. But, you know, South Africa now, they're gone on to a semi-final, and again, we'll talk about that later. France, they've been knocked out in their own home Rugby World Cup here. I'm sure it's not the end that they were hoping for or expecting out of this one. I thought that home advantage would just about shade it for them, but they weren't able to do it in the end. But still, you know, they gave us a lot of entertainment through the tournament. We saw some new stars being born as well, the likes of BLBRE. That guy is going to be a star for France for years to come. And, you know, we saw, you know, such determination and grit as well from them. Like, the fact that Dupont had that surgery and then came back and played he played the entire game, and he was there, like, wrestling with Khaleesi for the ball, and the ball ends up on the French side. And it's just crazy how good that guy is. And I kind of feel sad for him that, you know, he's not going to go on into a semi-final or a final, but still there's a lot of players that I admire from South Africa as well, that I'm very happy to see going on through there. You know, I'm probably more familiar, honestly, with the South African players than I am with the French players, simply because now they play in the URC, and I cover URC. It means that, you know, I've seen a lot of those players playing week in, week out. And, you know, when you do that, when you see those players and you see how they play for their, you know, their URC teams, you get more of a sense of how well they can play as well, and how close they are to their best when they're in a Springboks jersey. But, you know, that's a look back at the quarterfinals. We still have the semi-finals to come. But I'm still have that feeling of kind of sadness. It's kind of like if you go on a 2-week vacation and you only have a few more days left, you know, there's still going to be fun, but you have in the back of your mind that you only have a few more days left, and you have to go back to wherever the daily grind is in your job. That's the kind of feeling I have now, is that we've got the semi-final, the third, fourth place playoff, and the final left to go. So just 4 games left to go. But, you know, I'm going to make the most of it, and I hope you're there with me for that journey. And as I said, you know, we're going to have lots of content coming this week. We're also going to have URC coming as well, so we're going to be covering the new season. So hopefully some of you guys that came just for World Cup content, you stick around for that as well, because we'll be covering rugby all the way through the rest of the season as well. But for now, I'm going to stop prattling on, and I'll see you guys on the next video.